All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Course Creator Community Podcast. I am super excited because we've got an awesome guest on the line this week, a fellow Australian like me. She's from Queensland, so my apologies for kicking your ass in sport all the time, but not yet. We're a bigger state, so it's easier. But a little bit about this person. She's a speaker. She's an educator. She's a brand strategist. She's a copy strategist. She's the CEO of Wordfetti, and she's the host of the popular podcast, the Brandfeti Podcast, which I recommend everyone subscribe to. So without further ado, let me introduce the one and only Ms. Anita Siek. Anita,
Yay!
how are you?
I am good. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Jono.
No, I'm a huge fan of yours. I don't know if you know the stats. Have you got one of the more popular marketing podcasts in Australia?
Yeah, I think we're at the moment. I think it's top 10, somewhere
That's
around there.
crazy. Yeah. So out of all the marketing podcasts in Australia, you're in the top 10.
I feel humbled, and I don't know what to say. Yeah,
No,
it's
it's awesome.
incredible. Like
It's
it's when I
amazing.
think about it that way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. So everyone listening, make sure to check it out and get the best. Even if you're not from Australia, it's not just Australian marketing. It's marketing in general. It just happens that Anita's from Australia. Anita, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for
Mm,
us?
I do. The first one that popped into my mind is if you're wanting something that you've never had, you've got to be willing to do something that you've never done
Mm.
because what got you here is not going to get you there.
Yes, love that. And we're going to hear your story. So I'm sure you'll probably expand on, on some of that stuff there.
Yep.
But yeah, 100%. I love that myself. Yeah, my goal for this podcast, Anita, is more just for you to share your story. You're obviously very successful at what you do. And there's going to be a lot of listeners that are like, wow, she got to that level there. I'd love to get to that level myself. How did she do us? Tell us the secrets. And there's probably no secrets, but I'd love just to hear your story, Anita. I'd love for you just to start wherever you want to start in the next kind of 15, 20 minutes. Just how did you get from wherever you're telling the start point to now being Anita Siek, running one of the most popular marketing podcasts in Australia and running a very successful business at Wordfetti? I'm going to hand it over to you.
Ooh,
Start where you want
love
to start.
it. Well, let's take the listeners down memory lane.
Sounds good.
So hello everyone. Wonderful being in your ears. So I guess I'll start off the journey with, I guess, a little bit of background as to because it's a very non-linear journey to where I am today. When I grew up, like I was brought up in a household, right, where I was an only child, but both my parents, ironically, are also business owners, and they worked really hard to put me in the best education, best school, invested in all the extracurricular activities. I was like their trophy child, and there was also the expectation for me. So I come from an Asian background as well. And the expectation was Anita was either going to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I kid you not, this is actually the expectation. It was either
Sounds
going to
like
be one
Greek
or the
parents.
other. Uh,
Uh,
and
can I jump there for a sec? I'm not
of
sure if Asian is
course,
similar to Greek, because that's the same with Greek parent. My background's Greek, as you
yeah,
can probably
you'd
tell
get it.
by my note. Well, but the funny thing is, the reason they want you to be like a doctor, it's not because they want you to help people. It's like because it's good money. It's like helping
Yeah.
money is like the side effect. So I
A
feel you.
hundred percent, 100%. It was like the most stable thing. It's
Yeah.
hardest to get into, and it's just the feeling of, wow, like authority. So, so I guess that was the expectation from me, and you don't know much when you're just growing up. You don't know what subjects to choose in school, right? I was like, oh, I don't know.
I
So
don't know.
well, first of all, I figured out that I don't like blood.
Mm,
Biology was interesting. That was very fun.
mm,
And I just cannot imagine putting animals down because I wanted to be a vet as well at one
mm.
stage. And I was like, no, no. So lawyer it was. I studied 6.5 years because I did a dual degree. I did a law degree and also a psychology degree because I was
Wow.
fascinated by, and that was the only way I could do it if I could tack it on with law. So I did
Mm.
both, law and psychology. Absolutely love psychology. Very different vibe when I'm in lectures, definitely. But yeah, did that. Actually lived in America as well, and did a whole year there. That was so fun.
So,
And then
were
came back.
you studying over in America?
Yeah. So I was studying Washington University,
Wow.
and that was fun.
Exchange student? Did you
Yeah.
join a sorority?
No, it was
Okay.
post-grad, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
much
Too old
fun.
for it. Yeah.
But it was an incredible experience. Very lonely at the beginning, won't lie. But gosh, that the when you go into a new city, new country where you don't know anyone, that feeling I just cannot explain. Like it's such a rejuvenating, refreshing type of feeling where you just don't know anyone. You got to spike up conversations.
That's it. And
Um,
there's less to kind of worry about, like here in Sydney, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I got to be careful what I wear and
right.
say and whatever, but in a
That's
new city,
it.
it's kind of like, no one knows me here.
No, no one knows me. I could do whatever I want. I could say whatever I want, and I just be me sometimes in a way. So, yeah. So I did that. So got admitted as a lawyer. I worked in corporate. So I went straight into. I was working government. I did work in family, criminal. But then kind of realized I didn't want to practice. To be honest, I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer probably 2 years before I graduated, but had to give it a go. I then moved into a policy role, writing things people don't read until something happens, touch wood. So then Wordfetti, which is actually my third side hustle, funnily enough. I've started a few on the side because I think I was always trying to find something else that really made me feel that zing factor. So I think I used to take photos. I love taking photos. So I was a photographer at one stage. I also started a business with mum where we were selling little succulent plants and in-home house plants, and that didn't work well because I have a brown thumb. And would kill terrariums. Like, how do you kill a terrarium? I can. Give it to me. And then Wordfetti was my third. So Wordfetti was meant to just be my creative outlet. When I started, I love writing. Like, I love writing. I think it's just a medium and an avenue for me to really digest my thoughts and share a message out there. And I think words are such a powerful tool we all have that is free to be able to connect to humans, to be able to spark ideas, to storytell and carry on legacy and generations, and also create powerful change. So I really love words and just never thought any.
You always like writing, Anita?
Yeah, always loved writing. In school, I was in poetry, I did spelling bees, I just love language. I think too, because I actually grew up learning both English, Chinese, Indonesian, all at the same time. So
Wow.
sometimes I will think in like a supermarket. I will think like when I'm counting, I will think in English, but then I will kind of calculate in Chinese. I don't know, it's very hard to explain, but
Wow.
I'll think in completely different dialects. So language is fun.
Can you think in all those languages?
I can, more so in Chinese and English.
If you're in China, do you think in Chinese?
So I was actually born in Hong Kong. So it's more so Cantonese.
Gotcha.
I can speak Cantonese. I can speak Mandarin, but with a very apparent accent. Apparently, it's
Okay.
not as
Gotcha.
good. But I try. I give it a go. And yeah, so that's kind of how I guess my love for language was born. Being able to think in completely different languages, using that as a way for us to all to connect. So yeah, start Wordfetti.
Couple questions here, Anita.
Yeah.
So that's I get the school side of things, and just so we can put it in perspective, what kind of year was this?
As in, when did I start Wordfetti?
Yeah.
2018. I registered it in 2017, and then it was more so 2018. Yeah.
Gotcha. And you don't have to answer this if you don't want to show your age, but what kind of year did you graduate your university degree?
That was probably 2000 and when did I graduate? 2009? Oh no, hang on. Gosh, I don't actually know, but I mean, I'm happy to tell you guys my age. I'm 31.
Okay, cool.
I actually don't know when I graduated. It's that bad. Wow.
Probably like 10 years ago, right? Give or take.
Hang on. So I graduated high school in 2007. Uni was a good 6.5 years. So
2013,
yeah, yep,
2014.
2013.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So you're kind of working for 4 years,
Yep.
started Wordfetti. And just a
Yeah.
question there, when you started Wordfetti, were you active in like the social media space, in the blogging space, SEO space, or was it just none of that? It was just you liked writing?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I knew no one. I honestly had no idea what the heck I was doing to begin with. I was just purely using Wordfetti as an avenue for me to share ideas, exactly what I've just shared with you, my love language, the power of words. It was through Instagram that I was consistently sharing. I was writing blogs as well, but that was it. I didn't really do it for any particular purpose to begin with. And it was probably like, crickets for a good 6, 7 months
Mhm.
until someone DM'd me on Instagram through Wordfetti and was like, "Hey, I've been following you for the last 6 months, loving your stuff, and I was wondering whether or not I could hire you to help me write my website." And I was like, "Oh
There
my
we
God, what?"
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess to that point, I just, for anyone listening, one of the things I always see business owners and course creators really feel pain pointed by is they put something out there and it doesn't yield results, and they're just like, "Ugh, it didn't
Mhm.
work. I'm going to just leave it now. Podcast didn't work. Social media didn't work." And then they're going to leave it. And I guess I just want to say, like, it takes time for your
Mhm.
audience to build that connection and trust. For my audience, for that client, took 6, 7 months for her to see what I do, for her to see a peek inside my brain, for her to be like, "You know what, now I'm ready and I want to get in touch with her." So that was that. Like, so I started taking on clients, and it was on and off. And then it kind of within 2, 3 months after that first client, it just completely snowballed. I have no idea.
Mhm.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do ads. I didn't do anything different, but they just started to tell people, friends. It was purely through referrals.
Mhm.
And then within around 9, 10 months, I was making pretty much almost the same as what I was making in my corporate salary. In that side gig business, I was also not sleeping because I was
Yeah. So
literally,
you're doing both?
I was doing both at the
Yeah.
same
Wow.
time. And something had to give. So
Yeah.
I was really met at the crossroads. And it was funny because at that stage, I was given an opportunity in my corporate job. So they moved me up already, which I was really, humbled about. But then just as I was about to make the decision, they were just like, "Are you going to apply for this position? Because, we think you'd be a really good fit." And 3, 4, 5 years ago, Anita, before Wordfetti, would have been like, "Oh my gosh, that would be a dream gig, like for
Mm.
me to do." But then I legit just left it. I didn't even apply for it because I knew I wanted to give it a go. I knew I was going to regret it if I was freaking 70, 80. And I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, I wish I just gave that business a go." So I did that. It was very unexpected, I think, for my team. And I was just like, "I think I'm going to go." And they were like, "What?" "I think I'm going to go
Wow.
and give this a hot crack." And yeah, that was 2019, I think. Yep.
And this was mainly writing websites at this stage?
Yeah. So back then we were predominantly agency, more so agency based, and we still do a bit of that, but definitely not as much. So for the first 2 years, I would say Wordfetti really grew as an agency, as a team of just simply writing epic brand strategies, helping you stand the heck out through psychology and words and websites for conversions and optimization. And we had incredible results for our clients, but it was also, I think, in my heart, I knew I didn't want to be like this big
Mm.
scale copywriting agency, which was simply all about in and out projects.
Mm.
I love to go deep with my clients, and when you scale as an agency, you have to let a big part of that go. And I think for me, when I really got down to what success meant for me, and this is a big mistake I made. So, we grow businesses thinking this is what you're supposed to do. You hire people, you scale based on that because that's what you see someone else do. But I don't think I, for one moment until like 2020, sat down and paused to consider what does success actually mean for Anita.
Mm.
Not, maybe my mum, not maybe that mentor, not maybe that mentor. And I had incredible mentors, but what did it mean for me? And until I got really clear on what that actually is and what that actually meant for me, and not just tangible stuff, not just revenue stuff, because you'll hit a point where you meet that revenue and you're like, meh, like it's not about the money. It's about how you actually feel. For me, I was like, no, like the greatest moments are when I get DMs to emails, even with the podcast, it's free content. When I get DMs from people being like, oh my gosh, I listened to that episode or that podcast and it completely changed my way of thinking, or it helped me get this. That is my biggest zing factor. So I leaned in on that. And for me to deliver that type of impact, I had to restructure my business model. And that I did in 2020, just before COVID. Didn't know COVID was going to happen. So I literally booked, first of all, full transparency, I was burnt out. It was not pretty. 2019, 2000, and at the end of 2019 and 2020, that overlap, I was burnt out. I was questioning what the heck I have built. It was it was successful, but I, for some reason, felt weird and empty. And that was when I was like, nah, you know what? I want to lean more, double down on what feels really good. I'd rather make A's and 3 things as opposed to B's and 5 things. So I decided to go in 80% digital courses and programs and 20% in service. Did that happen overnight? No. Took a bit of time for us to transition in that, but I kid you not, like it was the most incredible experience to really go through that. And I feel so fulfilled and just excited about the impact we now get to create by literally equipping even agencies, copywriting agencies, brand agencies, to, copywriters, to business owners, course creators, with the exact methodology that we go through to help our clients achieve epic as heck results. So some people are like, why would you literally hand over like your info, like your IP and what you did? And I'm like, why the heck not? Like the more we can, the more impact that we can create. So that was 2020. And here we are today. Like I'm 2 years into the course creation world and I love it. Love it, love it.
Agree. I mean, this is the Course Creator Podcast, right? So it's like we're sold on this thing here. I think there's a few really key points you mentioned there that I want to address on. The first one was like when you're talking about when you were burnt out. So I think, and there's even the success side of things, right? I think if someone's starting off, money is usually the biggest focus, which I think is fine when starting off. I think if you don't have a lot of money, it's okay to work hard and build that up. But as Anita mentioned, you get to the stage where you're like, man, I've got this money that's great, and it can get quite depressing, if you're not fulfilled. So I think that's important to know. I think it's okay if you're starting off, okay, grind, hustle, do what you got to do, make the money, but that'll only get you happy to a certain point there. And yeah, I like to switch from the service to the courses. I think that's the best way to do it, and not to discourage anyone here that's going straight into the courses. That's what I did. I started straight into courses and that was fine, no dramas. But it is easier, in my opinion, if you go from service first, because you already have the perfect system there. It's like you've been saying Anita's case, she's been doing this for years. She's got the perfect system. She knows exactly what people want, what they need, the marketing, all of that. It's very easy to put it into a course there. So for people listening, that can also be a good progression as well, where it's like, oh, I know I want online courses. Because here's the other thing. I heard, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, Anita. I heard a good quote the other day. Everybody wants to make money while they sleep, but before they do that, they need to learn how to make money while they're awake. All right.
Yeah, so true.
That's what I think. That's what I see your system, right? It's like you got really good at this thing. You worked your ass off. You got good at it. But now great, because you worked your ass off and got good at it. Now you can go more digital. And I'm guessing you make a lot more money while you sleep now, right?
Yeah, it's I love that insight, because I think sometimes going straight into courses without first validating and understanding what your audience actually want, and it's a completely different perspective, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, like I've got X amount of years of experience in this, and this is what I believe my clients want, but. Yes, it could be, but it could be the slightest of messaging that would have your audience be like, no, I don't need that, versus, oh my gosh, I need this right now. And you can't arrive at that until like, of course you can do, yes, definitely do research.
Mhm.
But I think, like you said, Jono, like going through service first, you're able to hear, see, feel firsthand what that is and what they want.
And even from the sales process, right? And from the copywriting process, I'm guessing when you're writing copy for people, got to kind of ask them, hey, who's your ideal client? What are their struggles? What do they want? If
Mm,
you haven't done that service work, it's kind of hard to write good copy, right? Like say
yeah.
if someone came to you and they don't like, you're obviously an amazing copywriter. I'm sure your copy is limited by the info your clients give you if you're doing it for them, right? It's like,
Yeah, it's interesting, you see, like, and I still work with a very small select of clients, and I always say to them, I do more so consulting now, but I always still say the same thing. I'm just like, when we're writing copy and we're trying to drive that conversion, it's not about, with all due respect, Jess or Bob, it's not about what you're saying or what you think is going to work. At
mm,
the end of the day, I'm actually writing for your clients and
mm,
your customers. We need to write for them, not you, with all
yeah,
due respect. So, great idea. However, is that going to stick with your audience, or are they going to be confused AF? And when you're confused, you lose. So, when you look at it from that perspective, funnily enough, a lot of people actually don't really know who their
yeah.
audience is, because there's a lot of fears around, oh, if I niche or niche, I'm going to miss out on that audience, or I want to serve everyone. And the thing I always hear is like, oh, we don't want to like segment our audience too much, because, like our offer is like really valuable and can really help everyone. And I'm like, you guys have got the whole idea of audience wrong. Like, that is
Mm,
not how an audience is. When you hear marketers, bloggers, gurus, whatever, podcasters talk about, you got to know your audience is not about Jane who likes my stuff and she's experiencing blah. You need to go deep
mm,
into, why do they need to care about it right now? Like, what is going to be the cost of inaction? What words are going to get them so excited? Is it like, if I'm a copywriter and I'm selling copywriting, I'm not selling, hey, do you want me to help you write words on a website and get some attention? Cool, that sounds all right. But what people really care about is the ability to actually drive conversion. So the word conversion is going to make them zing. The word standing out and be front of mind in front of your audience is going to make them zing. So until you can actually uncover what the psychology behind a decision making process for your audience is, it's so hard to actually, you can have the best course, best product,
mm.
best service in the world, but if that messaging doesn't stick, they're going to be like, oh, I don't need that. Maybe next time, maybe next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll share kind of my experience there. The way that I was able to get good at that side of things, because I went to the course first without the service, was essentially just a million sales calls. It was
Mm,
just calling someone up. Hey, like they'd obviously inquire, but hey, here's the
mm.
course, you interested? Yeah. And I would just hear why they said no. Okay, cool. Now I better add that to the course. So add that to the sales page. Call up the
Ah.
next person. Hear why they said no. Okay, better add that. Call the next person.
Mm.
They say yes. Why did they say yes? Okay, great. And just from doing thousands of sales
Wow.
calls, that was essentially my service kind of thing. And the
Mm,
reason I share that is I think also what a lot of people in the online course space do is try and automate everything too soon at the start, where it's like,
mm,
right, I've got this course that I've never sold before and I've never validated it. So let me put together an Facebook ad with an automated
mm,
webinar and then an
mm.
automated email follow up and then a sales page and
Oh
see
dear.
how again, like
Yeah.
maybe it's going to work, but it's just so many ifs going there. I think it's easier, say the route I went with. Okay, great. Let me put out a Facebook ad. Let me call the person, see what it is, and then learn from there. Okay, once I
Hmm.
know this person better, okay, great. I can make the emails better. I can make the website better and improve that way there. That's my take. Any insights on that, Anita?
I love that. I think, it's, I always believe that the words that we really want to use to connect to our audience, it comes from our audience's mouth. And I think so often we're going out there to look for what it is and like, what's the buzzword we should use? What's the thing we should, and when people struggle with finding the words for their business, they're always trying to think that it is like a copywriter just strings up this magical
Mm,
sentence. But to be honest, like what we do, the bulk of what we do is 80% is in observing, listening, and feeling into their audience. We need to literally chameleon into the life of that audience that you're selling your course to understand like what the language, like listening to the language that they use, like letting them just a free flow talk, and you see what they actually, what words they use to explain what they're going through. Ask them very strategic questions to get them to just talk, because when you can observe what your audiences are saying, what they're thinking, their facial expressions, all of that, you can use all of that literally for a sales page. That will write your sales page.
Yes. Now, you're obviously amazing at this, Anita. We could speak about this all day. I do want to be sensitive of your time, and there's a few kind of closing questions I like to always finish up with. Now,
Yeah.
this being the Course Creator Community podcast, the question that I ask every guest is, what's your, either what platform do you host your courses on, or what's your platform of choice? What can you tell us
Yes,
there?
I use Kajabi.
Okay. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Like it? Hate it? Love it?
I really like it. Personally, I was toying with a few other platforms. I went with Kajabi just because it's just very. I'm not a tech genius. I want things as simple as possible.
Mm.
I use Kajabi because it's just so easy to understand, like the interfaces and all of that. Took me a little bit to get an understanding of it. I don't have my sales page on there. I rather have my sales page on my own like domain and website, so I can actually better track it. But I use Kajabi to host all of our programs. Yeah.
Awesome. That's and that's the best. It's hands down the best. So I ask this
Yeah, it's
question to
awesome.
everyone, and like every platform has its advantages and disadvantages. The
Oh,
disadvantage for
totally.
Kajabi is the price. That's the only disadvantage. It's the most
Yeah,
expensive of them
it
all,
is.
but it's
Yeah,
kind of like, well, you get what you pay for as well, you
you
know. So
too.
I think if you're just starting off, okay, cool. You know, maybe start off with a new Zenler, which is more affordable. But if you're established in business and you want the best, there's no question. It's Kajabi. It's just, do you
Mm,
want to pay the fee, you know? And the down point with Kajabi is it's a high entry level. I think the
yeah.
minimum is 197, and that's for like a couple courses, you know? So you really need the 297. And then even then, if you're a course creator, you're probably going to need like the 497, you know? So it goes up pretty quick. But anyways, next question is around mentors, Anita. So you're obviously a mentor for plenty of people out there that want to get better at copywriting, branding, probably podcasting as well. I'm curious to hear who your biggest mentors have been. If you could answer this in a few different ways, if you could give us a paid mentor, so someone that you've paid money to, they've coached you or you've done their course,
Hmm.
an unpaid mentor. So you haven't paid money to them, but you follow them on Instagram, you listen to their podcast, social
Mm.
media, whatever it may be, and then the book that you recommend every online entrepreneur should read.
Oh
So
gosh.
mentors, paid, unpaid, and book.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like I've just had so many incredible mentors. It's so hard to pick just one for paid. I guess I'll talk to the two that I can think of at the top of my head. I do have um, I've invested in James Wedmore.
Oh, yep.
He's great, and he's obviously been in the course creation world for gosh a number of years.
Mm.
So I do like really like his programs, and I think he's a cool dude, cool human. I really respect his approach and his I guess just personality as well as something that I connect with. I'm a deep empath, and he's someone who is also not just about let's get it done, let's hustle, let's blah. Like it's about no, hang on, what's the type of life you want to live, and let's build your business around that. So he's been incredible. I've also invested in a mentor here based in Australia, and I've worked with her. Her name's Vanessa, and I've worked with her for the last like 2 years or so, more so in
So
mindset.
what's her surname?
Auditoire.
Oh,
Auditoire.
I don't think I know her.
So yeah, I still work with her. She is more so in mindset, and has helped me quite a lot with, I guess, just navigating around all the different ups and downs of business. So she's more so, I guess, mindset. James is more so in the tools and resources, but also
Mm.
a dash of mindset. In terms of unpaid mentors, this one is hard because I think every single person that I meet is almost like an unpaid mentor. I will have conversations with someone who I might even just meet on literally like the sometimes at the street, even previous clients without them even knowing, just in how they're showing up, in how they're speaking. Like I learn so much from them. So I guess when I think about unpaid mentors, these are really people who I'm just absorbing like a sponge and observing, seeing how they show up in challenging moments, seeing how they navigate around business and life, even when there is a freaking hazard cone in front of them. I'm surrounded by a lot of unpaid mentors because I'm just absorbing so much every day on social media, what they're doing, what they're not doing, and how they choose to approach hard situations. So I'm finding it hard to answer that one,
So
Jono.
it's a good
Sorry, I
answer.
think
It's a bit, well, it's good because most people are just like, Tony Robbins, or
no,
or Russell Brunson, So
no.
I think I think you gave a different answer, which is good.
Yeah, no. I think anyone can really be like the person across the road who is like in his 60s and owns a butcher shop. Like I could learn just as much from him than, the people who are like who we all put up on a pedestal and all of that. Like, so I think every day I'm meeting people who teach me something and inspire me in something. So that's that. And I think your last question was about a book.
Yep.
I have so many books that I love. I think the first one, I'll share two books
Okay.
because one's probably more so in mindset. And I'm going to see if I can find it. I think it's called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yep, that's what it's called. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I really like that book just because it just dives into. I really resonated with the story because it revolves around, I guess, this person who's a lawyer who then realized that is not actually what he wants, and how he then pursued kind of like a path to really getting to know how he wants to share his impact. So I think for anyone who feels like a little lost in their direction, purpose, or even why they do what they do, that's an excellent book.
Robin Sharma.
I think so. Yes, that's it.
I just added it to my wish list then.
Yeah, great book. You'll love it. The other one I think is called. I'm just gonna have a look at my Audible just to make sure I've actually got the name right.
Yeah, you're good.
Give me one moment. I think it's called the. Is it The Big Leap? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Oh no, sorry. It's The Company of One.
Okay.
It's by Paul Jarvis. And this is incredible for course creators, particularly because it's when you're a course creator, you're really productizing your zone of genius and your what's in your brain and what's the knowledge, right? And I think that book is great because it's not about scaling based on hiring more people, which is very traditional. Don't get me wrong, you'll still need to hire. But in this book, it does talk about how you can really grow and scale based on less like all about people, treating people as resources, but also how you can be more intentional with, I guess, your growth and scale. So yeah, The Company of One.
Awesome. I added that to my wish list as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Now on the topic of courses, I believe you've got quite a popular free course, Anita.
Yes.
Tell us
So
about
we we actually have a freebie that I think a lot of our subscribers actually say they get so much out of that freebie. It's not so much a course, it's more so I call it 5-day e-lessons. So if you're wanting to kind of in literally 15 minutes a day over 5 days, we drop in a copy e-lesson that can be like consumed in 15 minutes and actioned. And we dive into things like psychology and words, websites, ad copy, social media, blogs, every day over 5 days, copy e-lessons. You'll be able to find that at Wordfetti group /freebie. So yeah, having us as your pen pals for 5 days.
Awesome. Let me just get that link again so I can make sure I get it right in the show notes.
Yeah,
Wordfetti Group.
it's wordfettigroup.com /freebie.
Got it. Awesome. All right. So for the listeners, that will be in the show notes. Anita, that's pretty much all I wanted to get through today. Is there anything I should have asked you but forgot to, or anything you want to finish us off with?
It's been a really good chat. I think the only thing I will just probably share with the listeners, I think, especially because they're in the beginning or growth stage of their course creation journey, is just realize that just because you've created the course, the work isn't done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
like
that.
creating the course is actually somewhat the easy bit.
Yeah.
Um,
I love it.
the economy, the digital world is ever changing. So you can't just create a course and just, yes, like you can make money when you sleep, don't get me wrong. However, you need to sustain that and make sure that your customer experience is epic, that you're always refining. Like, and that goes for anything. Like just because you've created a website, a brand, or an ad, like you can't just leave it. Like it's a constant refinement. And I think when we start to see it as more of a fun experiment where we're always testing and refining, making tweaks here, it can get a bit more fun. So I think seeing it as a test experiment always, just because you failed in a launch, it's not a failed launch, because if you choose to see it that way, it's going to be a failure. But if you choose to see it as, wow, that was a lesson, amazing, I can refine it, So that's probably the last thing I want to say.
Well, that reminds me of my favorite quote. I don't know if province. So it's essentially, I never lose. I either win or I learn.
No, I love that.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what you said. Do something. If you hit it out of the park, great. You hit it out of the park. Celebrate. If
Yeah.
it didn't hit it out of the park, also great. Why? And actually, I'll share a quick story there. My background as a personal trainer in the fitness industry, one of my favorite things to do, I used to run boot camps, right?
Yeah.
And I have a list of workouts that I knew were really good, but you can only do the same workouts so many times, right? I'd have to try new ones. And I'd often go in there and I'd create a new workout and it would suck, right? But that's okay, because I would just look back and be like, okay, why did it suck? And I worked at a couple different gyms, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that same workout tomorrow at a different gym, but just do these little changes and see how it goes. And then it would be way better. And then I would use that. And what I found is the more kind of times I would stuff up, the better I would get at predicting how to do a good workout. But it's kind of like the only way that I could get, and then I got really, really good, became a core, created a course, yada, yada, yada. But the only way I was able to do that was by running a whole heap of bad ones to finding out what doesn't work. Because otherwise you're still doing the same thing again and again and again, and it's either going to get boring or stale or stop working. So
Yeah, it's so true. I love that. I think it's the biggest misconception or myth people think. Like you create a course and it's like passive income. To a certain extent, it can be, but you'll still need to refine it.
yeah, well, my take with the passive income in the ideal world, there's a few things. Like, say with my business, I've got a few funnels set up that are 100% passive. Someone
Yeah.
types in Google, goes to the course, buys it, goes through on their own. There's a couple of those, but that's not my whole thing. But also on top of that, I think like the major passive thing of the course thing is like after the sales is done, it's passive. Like you still got to do the sales and the marketing or somewhat stuff there.
Yeah.
But the reason why I would consider courses passive is like, great, once that sale has been made, in the ideal world, I have to do absolutely nothing. Right. Whereas in the service-based thing, if you make a sale of copywriting, okay, great, you made the sale, but now you got to do the work as well. That's how I'd encourage the listeners to think of the passive side of courses. It's like you still got to be active on your sales and marketing, but after the sale, it's a lot more passive if you've got online courses.
Yeah. Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave it at that for today, Anita. For the listeners, I'll put those links in the show notes, and make sure to check out Anita's podcast, Brandfetti, as well. I'll put the link in the show notes there. Anita, thank you for your time.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me, Jono.